You're listening to Winnipeg's Classic 107. My name is Simon Rusnak. This weekend, the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra, in partnership with the Jewish Foundation of Manitoba, presents what is sure to be one of the most moving and unforgettable programs of this 75th anniversary season. Part concert, part memorial, part educational opportunity, Violins of Hope explores themes of unimaginable tragedy and conquering resilience through music and a pair of very special musical instruments. Joining me this morning is music director of the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra, Maestro Raiskin. Thank you for being here.
Good morning, Simon. Good morning, everyone. Great to be here with you.
And appreciate you making the commute, especially on this very wintry Winnipeg morning.
Well, winter has come to Winnipeg as well, but I kind of missed the snow for a while, and it's good. It doesn't feel like minus 50 yet. So.
Exactly. We can take comfort in that. And you're here for very good reason, to tell us more about Violins of Hope, which is a concert that has been a long time coming and a very special part of this auspicious year for the WSO.
Yes, this project has been in the makings for 2.5 years. I'm sorry, we had to postpone it a few times, but I'm incredibly happy and thrilled that we're actually going to perform this wonderful program on Saturday, which is incredibly relevant, very meaningful, and it's as much about the tragedy as it's always about hope that comes after it. And, being so strongly connected to Winnipeg, to Manitoba now in the last years, being a Jew myself, coming from here now to Winnipeg, from Amsterdam, where I live for the last 32 years, a city that has suffered also a lot from the deportation of Jews during the Second World War. I think that there's so much personal components, so many personal components in this project, for me and for many members of the orchestra as well.
Yeah, you talk about the personal side of this project, and this an international effort, really, Violins of Hope. Can you talk more about the project as a whole?
Well, it's not a secret that during the Second World War, thousands of Jewish families were deposed of their belongings and also definitely of their musical instruments. I mean, everyone knows how much music means and what role it plays in Jewish community, Jewish history, and the violin is such a symbol. Just think of Chagall's pictures, and somewhere in every picture, somewhere in the corner, there's a fiddler on the roof. And to break this symbol, to break this people, to annihilate them, Nazis also went after these symbols of resilience, symbols of hope, symbols of identity, and they took the instruments away. Many were destroyed, many were resold if they were available. Some of them are still unaccounted for. Mm-hmm. And after the war, and not so long ago actually, the two Israeli violin makers started to gather these instruments and to collect these instruments and find their rightful owners. But moreover, mostly they were collecting also the stories behind these instruments. And I think that the combination of instruments and stories, and music and stories, this is what we are going to do on Saturday. There are going to be two instruments from that collection presented in Winnipeg. They're already on display in Winnipeg. And one of them has an incredible story of a family from Amsterdam. And this is a coincidence. I didn't know anything about this until very recently. And I think that the members of the family will also be attending the concert, which will make it even more dimensional, I'd say.
I want to talk more about those two instruments, but just speaking more broadly, the Violins of Hope project has something like 60 instruments in their instrument bank currently. It consists of violins, violas, and cellos. And the instruments themselves, many of these are decorated to indicate, to whom these instruments belong to, right?
Some of them have a Star of David carved into the back of the instrument, very beautiful way. And this is the symbol of Judaism, and for people who relate to that, that's a very sacred kind of mark. And of course, that during the Second World War, Jews were supposed to wear the yellow stars of David on their clothes when they were in ghettos and in occupied territories. And this just such a different world parallel with being identified as a no one and being stamped with that symbol, and then having a beautiful instrument which bears the same. And the stories behind, many of these instruments that you talk about, these collections, were played by Jewish musicians that were in the concentration camps, notably the famous Women's Orchestra of Auschwitz. And we are going to also perform one of the works that is related to that orchestra. And, they kept playing, and they kept even entertaining their potential killers and destroyers. And because music is above everything. I just remember that very recently we performed Mahler's Fifth Symphony at the opening of the season, and one thing stood out very much. Mahler, who was a Jew himself, he was asked once about his religion. He was Christian and chose to go on that path, but he actually answered, "My religion is music. There's everything in it," and this is, I think, very, very purposeful also in this respect.
Can we talk more about the role of music in ghettos and in concentration camps? Because like you say, it offered a sense of hope, but it also was a form of humiliation, right? In camps, kind of ordered to play on command of the officers, to play tunes that they wanted to hear, or marching or labor songs and like that.
It's true, but at the same time, being able to play music, which doesn't contain any specific text and any specific words, it doesn't matter what you're ordered to play. It's what you play what matters, and what words and what heart and what soul and what story you put into it. And yes, there were, and we know that, I'm not afraid to say, but among these horrific German officers, there were people educated and who played instruments themselves, and they played piano. That doesn't make them lesser animals and killers but they missed music too. And they ordered this, who they would then a few days or weeks or months later send to gas chambers to entertain with the music they loved. And very often it was the same music, Beethoven quartets or divertimentos by Mozart. These were played there too by the people who then would be sent to gas chambers. And this is something that makes it incredibly tragic, but also explains the weight and universal value of music to those who might not understand what it could mean for both parties. For Jewish people to play on always meant to live on, and as long as you could play music and perform your violin or cello or viola or piano, there was this little thread that connected you to actual heart pulse. Heartbeat.
All about music and the people who are making that music. And we're going to hear, just before continuing the conversation with Maestro Daniel Raiskin about the upcoming Violins of Hope concert that's coming up on Saturday with the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra, and about some of the special instruments that will be used in the concert. We're going to hear a selection from the Violins of Hope CD. This features Niv Ashkenazi on the violin with Matthew Grable at the piano, performing music of Shimon Laks. Niv Ashkenazi with Matthew Grable performing music of Shimon Laks, the Polish-Jewish composer and violinist who became head of the Prisoners' Orchestra at Birkenau, Auschwitz, recorded on the Violins of Hope CD, part of the larger Violins of Hope project. And this Saturday, December 3rd, Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra presents Violins of Hope, and Maestro Daniel Raiskin has joined me in studio to chat a little bit more about it. Maestro, admittedly, this is a very heavy topic, but we must remember that this is Violins of Hope. Right?
Absolutely. Well, it's as we just mentioned, having a conversation while the music was playing, it is an integral part of Jewish culture. One eye smiling, one eye crying, and the happiness and tragedy go hand in hand. And every day, you get a friend, you lose a friend. There's a person born, there's a person dying. But there's always, the whole history of Jewish people, more than 2,000 years, is based on the notion of hope. And this is then translated into everyday optimism. And at the same time, we are masters of complaining, like Jammermeister. We are the ones, but an hour passes and we're all optimistic, and we build this sand castles and air castles, and we actually manage to reach out for them, reach them, and many unthinkable things we manage to achieve and do this every day.
Very true. I want to talk about the music on the program and who will be featured in this program. Two violinists performing on two very special violins. Can you tell us more about that?
Well, we will have our concertmaster Gwen Hubig playing on a Hecht violin, the violin that belonged to this Dutch family, the Hecht family. It's a very beautiful violin adored with this Star of David on the backside. And we will also have our section violinist, Sonia Lazar, playing on the klezmer violin.
Yeah.
And she is actually going to play the Schindler's List theme. And also another piece that every Jewish violinist always played, and it's a piece by Joseph Acharon, melody.
Yeah, Hebrew melody.
Hebrew melody.
Yeah.
And we've got actually the special arrangement of that piece that is usually for a large orchestra, but it's very, very difficult to get the orchestral material for that. So we have someone, an Israeli composer who actually was in the Ohad Ben-Ari, who was very much involved in the Violins of Hope, made a beautiful arrangement for string orchestra and harp of the Hebrew melody of Joseph Aharon. And it was actually performed by the concertmaster of the Berlin Philharmonic in Berlin Philharmonic during one of the concerts there. So, and then, there will be music by Sergei Prokofiev, a Russian composer born in Ukraine. And it's a overture on the Jewish themes, actually a kind of a little klezmer music essay with an important role for clarinet, orchestral version of that. We are also playing a piece that is strongly associated with the Women's Orchestra of Auschwitz, Vienna, the City of My Dreams. It's a very famous song and tune by Rudolf Szczeciński, Jewish Polish composer and performer. And the piece was very incredibly popular in Vienna at the turn of the century, and one of the favorite pieces of the German officers in Auschwitz. So they asked the orchestra to play it again and again. And actually, I had long conversations once with Raphael Wallfisch, a wonderful UK cellist, whose mother, Anita Wallfisch-Lasker, not only the founding member of the English Chamber Orchestra, but she was, and she's still alive, a member of the Women's Auschwitz Orchestra.
Wow.
And I recorded and performed concerts with Raphael. But their son, Benjamin Wallfisch, has conducted WSO in the past, and he's himself a very prolific and successful Hollywood music composer. So sometimes the projects you bring to life without even knowing how many underlying personal connections there are, at the end, it's probably just meant to be this way. So here we have a direct relation to WSO, and we have a violin that belonged to a Dutch family and a music director who is Jewish from Soviet Union but lives in Amsterdam for 32 years. And by the way, this is also a story I definitely will share with our audiences at the whole, but everyone probably involved in this history knows about so-called stumble stones. This is a project that was started by in Germany by someone who has gathered information about the Jews deported from their homes around Europe. And he created this copper bronze cobblestones, that would be mounted into the street in front of the homes of these people that were taken and then sent to the concentration camps and perished there. And these cobblestones, it's the right word for it, bear the names and the life dates of these people and when they were sent to Sobibor, Auschwitz, or Majdanek, and then were murdered there. And just 2 weeks ago, a door next to a place where we live in Amsterdam, which used to be a very Jewish area of Amsterdam, just in front of our downstairs neighbor, a cobblestone like that was placed. And if you walk around the place we live, every 100, 150 meters you literally stumble on the stones. And the family to whom the violin belonged, we are going to use in the concert, during the war lived 800 meters away from where we are now, and the monument to Canadians that liberated Amsterdam at the end of the Second World War is halfway. So it's basically 350 meters from our place to the monument, and then another 400 to the place they lived. It doesn't get more closer and more personal than it is, and it's not planned, and that's the beauty of it. It's probably meant to be.
It really is meant to be. And I mean, you talk about the personal connection, the local connection, the international connection that brings this project to life. Violins of Hope, that takes place this weekend, Saturday, December 3rd, 7:30 p.m. at the Centennial Concert Hall. Tickets are still available, wso.ca, this in partnership with the Jewish Foundation of Manitoba. Would really encourage you to arrive early, though. 6:45, there will be a pre-show chat. Sonia Lazar and Maestro Daniel Raiskin will be conducting that conversation. There's also music of Johannes Brahms on the program, his third symphony. WSO.ca for more details, or classic107.com. Maestro, thank you for joining me this morning.
Thank you so much, Simon.